Good morning and welcome to today's episode of Coffee with Bobbi. This is the first episode of 2021 and I am so excited to have on today Jason Wilkins. Jason is a Sheridan College illustration graduate and has been creating caricatures, murals, and illustrating for print and web professionally for 20 years. Jason's messaging is all about spreading positivity and following your own personal path of happiness. Jason's studio is in the beautiful city of Peterborough, Ontario, Canada, where he lives with his wife, Heidi, 4 children, Sam, Julian, Avery, and Kelly, their cats, Hero, Betty, and Jojo, a bearded dragon, Chai, and an Italian greyhound, Marty. You've got all the pets over there. His clients have included Adidas, LinkedIn, Toronto Blue Jays, Twitter, HP, H&M, and many more. Jason, I am so honored to have you on the show today. Welcome.
Thanks, Bobbi, for having me. It's awesome.
How are you doing today?
Really good. Yeah, really good. It's the first time I was into the studio a couple of days ago to kind of clean up, but this is kind of the first in studio day for the new year. So it feels good.
That's awesome. Good to be back in there, back creating. So yep. Tell us a little bit more about what you've been up to lately.
Yeah. So as you said, I do a lot of different things. So illustration, caricature, murals, and it's interesting sort of how things have evolved over COVID times. It's been really helpful to have sort of all those things on the go, because at any point, one of them can go, and then you have, it's important to have that backup, right? So my event side of my company obviously kind of tanked during COVID. It's since sort of.
Oh, I can't hear you.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay, good. Can you hear me okay?
Yep. So you were saying
Okay.
The event side.
Awesome. So the event side kind of is gone, but it's kind of been reborn into this virtual thing, which is great. But for so long it wasn't there, and that was sort of half of my business. Now the mural thing has really kind of helped me out, and it's really taken off, and that's kind of kept me going. So yeah, moral of the story there is just kind of have more than one door open, and it's kind of paid off, which is great.
Well, that's wonderful. And then on the event side, were you doing more so like live caricature drawings, or what did that look like for you, or live art for large scale events?
Yeah, so what I was doing is, because we're just outside of Toronto, so I would head into Toronto several times a month and do large corporate events. So digital characters. So I have my iPad and a small printer, and do it kind of just blew up over a couple of years. I went entirely digital probably 4 years ago. And ever since then, it's opened up lots of opportunities. And that was one of them, was really to kind of get into the corporate scene and kind of work with some pretty large companies. So it's been great.
Oh, that's wonderful. And for those of you who are wondering, how do digital illustrations work and so forth, were you using mostly Procreate to do this?
Yeah, so my iPad Pro, that's the first one I got, and loaded Procreate on there. And that's been ever since, that's been it. It's super powerful, and I had other tablets in the studio for larger jobs, which I no longer need. So it's been wild. I upgraded my iPad recently, so there's much more room on it, and there's just way more you can do with it now. So it's insane. It's pretty crazy how it's blown up. Technology, I don't even know the next 5 years, what things might look like. It's crazy.
It is incredible. We're doing this right now on Zoom, and it's broadcasting live, and it's going out to podcasts. But on the Procreate side of it, now I want to say probably 3 to 5 years ago, when Procreate first came out, one of my good friends out in LA was doing the digital illustrations and got into that. And what's super cool to me is to see the progression of when you record it. And then you can make the videos. And I would just be enamored. I would just sit there and I'm like, this is so cool how you got all the layers and how you blended this.
That's an awesome feature in there. Like, it's just kind of built in. So you don't think about it, you're drawing, and it just captures it as you're drawing, right? And then clients love that stuff too. So I'll just send that off as like an extra, like, and they're like, what? Like, how did you do that? It's just like, it's kind of magic to people sometimes, right? Even to me, when I first discovered all this stuff on here, it's just wild. And my daughter like uses it. She knows stuff on here that I don't even know about yet. So it's funny how kids are just immediately plugged in, right?
Oh, they just play with it and they're like, "Ooh, here you go. Here you go."
Yeah.
Yeah, I have nieces and nephews and they're like, "Bobbi, what's your passcode?" And they ask me once. And then after that, they're like, "Ooh, I want your phone. I want your phone." And they remember it and they've got everything. They're like opening up TikTok and I'm like, "Don't get into my stuff, please. Don't create content."
Yeah, it's really
post it.
Yeah, it's funny when I talk to kids that I'm teaching up here, and I'll say like before internet or before I had a computer, because when I graduated art school, honestly, like we had a computer lab, but it was pretty scarce. And it's insane. They don't understand. They don't get it, right? So it's kind of neat to see that progression.
Definitely. And it absolutely, I think for the initial investment, if anybody who's out there is like, I really want to do art, but I don't have the tools and so forth. Like if you have an iPad and either the Apple Pencil or whatever pencil stylus that you use with it, you can literally have so many tools at your fingertips to play with in Procreate.
Yeah, absolutely. And something else I always tell like young artists coming up is like, don't you have to sort of know you have to get the fundamentals down, you know, use traditional materials. And because this technology is a tool, you know, it's not going to make you an insanely amazing artist like out of the gates. You have to have that sort of foundation, right? But it's an incredible addition to someone's career, to even just getting going. Yeah.
Have you always been in the art world, or how did you start out and get to where you're at now?
Yeah, so I went to art school, so I've always been in. That's sort of since day one. I kind of knew what I wanted to do. Went to art school. Was in a local arts program here in town, which my daughter's in now. Went from there to post-secondary, which was Sheridan College. And then came out of there, everyone thinking they're amazing. And, you know, you're going to come out of art school and, you know, that's it. You're going to make it. You know, I said to my friend, we were driving along after graduation and I said to him, you know, this is it. I'm never going to work a real job ever in my life again. And that was not the case. So, so I left art school and, you know, worked a decade in a call center, and which was actually good learning. Met some awesome people. It was good learning in the way that I knew that that's not something I would ever want to do again. But to be honest, fed the family and kept things going for 10 years with my art sort of in the background. I'm still working away on that. Long story short, I split from my wife and had no idea what I was going to do. And then it's interesting how moments like that sort of create opportunity, and if you want them to. So from there, just sort of built the business up, decided that's what was going to happen. And I left that job with nothing and was really scared. And the first job I took after leaving that was a mural on a water tower. And I'll never forget it because it didn't pay very much. And the guy said, if you can come out and do it, it's yours. So it was in a town close to Peterborough. And I was 100 feet up and it was close to water. So the scaffolding was doing this as I was trying to paint.
Oh, man.
And the kicker was the kicker was I'm not a fan of heights, right? So it was 5 weeks and I ate junk food the whole time, and I actually lost weight because I was so just terrified every day. And so that just shows how badly I wanted to kick off and really kick off my art career was to take anything that kind of came my way, no matter what it meant. And from there, it's just like, as you know, one thing leads to another, and it kind of snowballs. And that's how my business continues to grow, because I just I create stuff and stuff that I love to do, and luckily people enjoy it and they like looking at it, and that just leads to the next thing. So that's just the basis of my business, is just to make people happy, and it just keeps rolling.
That is incredible. And I've looked at your artwork. It is so bright and so fun, from the murals, and you're drinking out of the Tim's cup, and I saw one of your designs that you had put up on there. Like,
there it is there.
Yeah. Look at it. I'll even put the cover photo on there. But it's so fun. Like, if I had a cup like that, I just like stare at it the whole time.
Yeah.
That
and then like shoes and stuff, like,
ooh.
So, and then so I did one for International Women's Day a couple of years ago. So I did like a pair of women's shoes as well. So it's just like me having fun. It's just, that's all it is. And I kind of just throw stuff to see what's going to stick. And some stuff ends up horribly and never sees the light of day. And other stuff, it just grows, like the mural thing. It wasn't really planned. I just started sort of drawing on my studio walls, and put some Facebook ads up and Instagram ads up, and people started seeing it. It's just fun.
That's the thing. When one person connects to it and they're like, hey, this is super cool, you should check out what Jason's doing.
Yeah.
And then that's how it organically grows, from the live event side. Somebody can see what you're doing and then be like, oh, what else do you do? Let me check out the rest of your work. And
exactly.
I can see how that, not having that now, has sort of like made you reinvent the wheel and innovate. And it's like, how can I bring that element back into it?
Yeah.
To capture this sort of spiral and domino effect of who's going to share what.
Yeah. And that's what I just keep doing is, during all this, like, I'm kind of sick in the way, I tell people, sick in the way that I enjoy not knowing what's coming next. So from month to month, kind of like, ooh, like, is it going to be all or nothing? And that forces me to get really creative and kind of go inside myself and like really kind of dig a little bit on new things I can create and new projects I can come up with. And it's not all about money. I'll put stuff up and just let it go and just have fun with it. Because if you get so, you have a family to feed and you have things to pay, but it's not the end all and be all. And if you're too focused on that, things creatively, I find just come to a standstill. So I think a lot of young artists like come up thinking that this is going to be it and they're going to make a ton of cash. And it's taken me 20 years to make a decent living, and I love it, and that's the only reason it's sustained itself, right? Yeah.
This is so vital and key to like whatever you are doing in life, no matter if you're doing art or you're creating in another sense, or you have a business selling something, whatever it is, like you have to have fun in the process. Or like you said, that creativity is at a standstill and it's not there because you lose sight on the inside of what truly matters and why you started what you're doing.
Exactly. Yeah. Again, I preach it as much, and whoever will listen, I'll tell it. But like, if you're not going to invest everything in something that you want to do, and you're not going to take the leap and kind of burn your bridge and just go for it, it's just not going to happen. And you should always have that backup, I think, at the beginning, for sure. I think to take a blind leap, maybe not the smartest thing, but to understand that if you're good at something, and you really feel it, I think you should jump, and it's really important. Yeah, just being creative as much as you can and putting stuff down on paper or iPad or whatever it is you're working on, or wall. Literally just doing it as much as you can. And it's the work, period. It's the work.
Plain and simple, right there, you've heard it. And even if you don't have walls to write on,
yeah,
we all have windows and dry erase markers. And
yes.
Just hearing like writing on the walls made me think back. I transitioned from what I used to study. So I was a chemistry major and I hated organic chemistry. That was like my worst nightmare. I was like, everybody was like, oh man, if we get 38% on this, we're ahead of the curve, but that's what my roommate and I would do. We would sit in the lounge and like write on the windows to get all of these equations down. And it just brought back that memory of, you got to do the work, like whatever it is, like take what you have. If you don't want to write and use a whole bunch of paper, you've got windows, grab some Windex.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And even when I have kids up here, when I'm teaching, they come in and they see my drawing on the wall. I said, here, take a Sharpie, just go home and start drawing on your parents' walls. They'll love it.
Yeah. If I did that as a kid, my mom would, she's OCD, would have been like, what in the world are you doing?
I think anyone's parents would be like, but yeah, just going at it 100% all the time if you can. And if not, just do it when you can. And like I did for years, it was in the back burner for years. And but it never goes away, right? If it's something that you're passionate about. So yeah, that's an important lesson for kids. And I think I always use kids as an example because I always feel like they're the area of opportunity. Adults, they're harder to turn. I mean, it's so funny to say turn, but like I've had people come to me and say, like adults say, I don't know. It's easy for you to say, like, do what you love and just leave everything else, right? It is easy to say, but you can start at any point. I'm 43, and this has only become full time in the last 3 years. So you can start at any time and make a go of it, and you don't have to leave your day job. But I find that kids, get them out of the gate, man. Get them out of the gate in that frame of mind of do what you love. If not, I really feel like it's a waste of time. And that's sort of an extreme view, but I'm very passionate about that. And, we're not here for very long. And it's very important to take a second and really evaluate what you want to do with your life.
This completely resonates, Jason, with me and myself, and like sort of where I started out in education and thought I was going to go to med school. And then I scrapped that, and everything from my mom and my parents were one of these huge drivers of like, ever since I was little, like, you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be a lawyer. And I was the oldest in my family. And, like you have that, you get good grades and everything. But I can see how that mentality that my mom had with me compared to my youngest sister, who is 16 right now, and I'm 33. Right. So wow, it like completely has shifted. She's now like, oh yeah, like Maddie really excels at this. And I'm like, I am so happy you have changed your mindset to like finally grasp it.
That's great.
That we have to do what we love. And she's so supportive of what I do. And like you said, like we always use kids as an example. I used to teach and I was like, you guys really have to do what you love. Like, go for it. Like the risk at the very beginning when you're young is minimal.
Yeah.
The risk for you and me right now is a lot higher stakes.
Yeah.
And, the bills add up. You got to put food on the table for family. You've got
Yeah.
mortgage, whatever it is. But then there still comes a time where you realize that like what was serving me in the past is no longer serving me today. So I've got to make that jump and take that leap. Otherwise, you're doing a disservice to yourself.
Yeah. I'm an entirely different person now than I was 8 years ago. Entirely different. Like, it's insane. You don't think people can change. And when you really start to come into your own, that's when it just sort of naturally happens. You just become yourself. And that's what I want for people more than anything is to realize their full potential, as cliche as that sounds. It's everything. And once you find that, and again, I don't care if like you have your full-time job and it's a 9 to 5. That's what a lot of people love. And I'm 100% on board. But if there's something else in you that you know that you want to do, just take it home. Just do it. Just do it on the side, or do something just to light you up a little bit. Because the grind 9 to 5 can, I'm sure for a lot of people, can just wear you down, right? It did for me, which is why I kind of reached that point of, okay, I'm out of here.
I feel you on that. I mean, as I've explained before, and people who have known me, like I was on the road for 10 years, traveling nonstop and just going. And, it is a roller coaster, and it gave you this sense of like, okay, I'm able to go, able to travel, able to create my own schedule, which is incredible. But then there's also this token when you're living the freelance life, and when you have your own business and I was doing freelance event marketing, where you're always like thinking like, when's the next one? When's the next one? Or if something pops up, like it was really hard to say no to it when I wanted to do something creatively. And I was doing photography then. And it was just one of those things where I was like, okay, well, one day this will all mesh together. And it did on one of the last projects that I took before COVID. But then you hit this phase of burnout of like, maybe this isn't exactly where I need to be, and my soul is going in another direction, and I got to make that jump somehow. And that was one of those points where it was like, okay, like, let's spend some time, let's figure it out, and look at where I'm at now,
Exactly. And that's what happened to me before I 100% shifted to just me. I was doing partially my stuff and then partially for a media company here in town, some marketing. And what happened was I was started getting so much work on my own that the guys at the media company were like, maybe you should make a choice. Because it was a nice way of saying, this isn't going to work. Because what ended up happening was I was doing my own stuff there while doing their stuff, trying to keep up with both, and it just wasn't happening. So it is interesting how those moments come where that's a defining moment, like saying, okay, that's it then. Like I gotta jump now. And probably the best decision ever. Yeah, for sure.
And it's at those moments where you don't realize it, I find, that you're like, oh, they're pushing me out of this, like they don't want me here anymore, or so forth. But it's actually the initiative that you need to like lift you to that next place in life.
Oh yeah, I've had so many of those moments, and a lot of them are horrible. Like I said, those defining moments come out of times of despair and depression, and just life knocking you down repeatedly, and then it is a choice. It's a choice how you come out of those. And my entire family sort of were brought up to just embrace positivity and always kind of approach things that way. And so I think that's helped me tremendously get out of those funks and kind of reinvent myself a little bit.
So how do you prioritize now in the space where you're at? You know, there's always this balance of doing projects that you love for you and then also client work. And yeah, client work pays the bills up front, but you got to also have the personal work going to attract the new clients.
Yeah. So that's definitely a fine line. Like I find I don't have much time to do my own thing. Now, the Tim Hortons Cup was one of those things where I had an idea in mind that would get me work, but I would also love doing it, right? Mm-hmm. So I do that as often as I can. Like again, there's the cup, but so this was just literally me just playing around, and I thought I'll just see if they can pick it up. Still don't know. They sent me some nice free stuff. But it's just the act of trying, and then that gets you work because it gains traction. You know, local media. I had some media pick it up outside of town, and then people see it and your approach for other work. So that's another thing, is to do what you love to do also comes with that. Like you're going to take stuff that you don't love all the time. It's just how it goes. I mean, you can't live in the clouds 100% of the time. My wife keeps me pretty grounded that way. She's the sensible one. I'm always up here, but it's those moments where you can grab those moments for yourself and try to make them work for your business too. So I do that as often as I can, like just playing around. I think that's really important, just to keep the fire burning, you know.
And it's so fun because you can literally almost write on any surface.
Yeah.
And draw and create. So it's like, okay, well, what's inspiring me today? I'm drinking a cup of coffee. Why not write on the cup?
Why not?
Or, you know,
got a shoe? I'll draw on your shoe.
Right. But like, it can be anything, like plates. Like my mind's going on like collaborations, and
yes,
this reminds me. Well, I saw yesterday. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but Gucci and North Face did a collaboration. Two brands that I would have never pictured going together, doing a collaboration. And they have murals now in Shanghai, London, New York, and Milan, I believe.
Yeah.
And like one of them in Milan, they created a puffer jacket, like the standard North Face puffer jacket.
Yeah.
That material on the outside of like an apartment building. And you just look at it and I'm like, this is so cool. This is so realistic.
Yes.
Out of a collaboration that I would never imagine between two, you know, apparel brands. And it happened.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going on. And I think that's a fairly new movement and I think we're going to see more of that coming up because of COVID. People want to be inspired. They want to when they're walking these empty streets, they want to see stuff up on the walls that makes them feel good. And I've had a few clients like that during COVID that said that to me, that they just want, one was a dance studio in Toronto, and they said they just want their dancers to come in and feel better. And I feel like if you were to sort of boil down my business and what I do, that's what it is. I just want people to feel good. And I think that's the end all and be all. Like if we can all make each other feel a little bit better, especially now, like that's, man, mission accomplished, right?
Game over. Like what more could you want? That you know that your work and your art is bringing smiles and, you know, a piece of joy into somebody's life that they don't have right now. And like you said, like the art is something that, you know, I've missed it. We've all missed it. And especially, you know, when you have cities that like museums are closed, or, you know, there's the safety issues, or, you know, you've got the digital version online of like, let's do the walkthroughs of different museums.
Yep.
There's still something about it that when you see something that's powerful or just like makes you smile, like fills you up, you're like, ooh, I need more of this in my life.
Yeah, everybody does. Everybody does. You know, especially now, like I keep saying, there's people out there that are really hurting, financially, emotionally, and literally anything you can do. You don't have to have a massive impact. You don't have to be someone super important. Literally, and again, as cliche as it sounds, seeing someone on the street and just saying, "Hey," like, you don't know what that's going to do to somebody. So I try to inject as much of that into my work as I can. And again, I equate a lot of this to the way I was raised. It's just, it comes from my parents, comes from my grandparents, it comes from, we all just have always been that way. So, and it's something I try to give to my kids as much as I can. Even during the teenage angst times. But yeah, everybody just needs more of it, period.
100%. Like you're preaching my words, Jason.
Yeah.
Like I always say, you never know if you're going to the grocery store or having coffee or, just saying hi to somebody, especially at times like these when a lot of people are by themselves constantly. Maybe they're living alone and they don't have a family with them. Or even if you have family with you, there are still moments where like everybody's so disconnected that you still feel alone, even though the house is completely full. And that having like just a couple words or smiling to somebody might be the only face-to-face interaction that somebody has had that entire day.
100%. And when we were all hit with this in March of last year, I went through 2 months of, I would say, some sort of depression. It feels weird to say that actually, because I'm not one to, I don't know. It's a weird thing for me. I don't often get like that. So when it happens, it's really strange to feel that way, but something's pretty wrong. And what it was for me is just literally not creating, and everything felt like it was kind of dropping away. I kept getting phone call after phone call. This event's canceled. This event's canceled. And I looked to my wife and I'm like, don't know. I have no idea what to say. But
I'm trying. I'm here.
We're here. And so that's just another piece of advice. The way I heal myself is just, I just keep creating. And if I don't, it doesn't have to be for anybody. It literally feels like withdrawal. Like I'll get grumpy, I'll get agitated, and then I'll ask myself sort of what's up. And the answer is usually you stop creating, you stop making stuff. So that's how you know what's in you. Like when you just can't get by without doing it, right? Yeah. So back to the point, I think we're going to see more of this as time goes on. It's not COVID, obviously isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Sorry, it's a plow outside.
Oh, that's okay.
So I think we just need to up all the positivity, as much as we can, put it out there. And I sound like a broken record, and I stopped caring about that.
I mean, I say the same thing. So we're like best friends now, Jason.
Yeah, exactly. I don't even care anymore. It just needs to be out there constantly. And again, end of story. Like it just has to. You just have to keep putting it out there. And there's, like I said, tons of people need it. Tons of people need it.
It's at these points, like you said, it's really hard when you're a positive person and you have these moments, whether it is depression or a period of like your world as you knew it turned completely upside down. You're going through a time of like clients are canceling, they don't know what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just domino effect and snowballs in over to you. And I can totally relate to that. Like I was sitting in end of February with a 7-month contract to go on the road. And then it was like, oh, March, well, we don't know. Maybe April we'll talk to the client, but it's definitely on the back burner. And then they were like, well, yeah, I don't think it's happening this year. We'll like retable conversations in January.
Oh,
And I'm like, at this point now, I was going to go on the road with my boyfriend, and I'm like, I don't even want it. Like,
no.
I'm at a completely different place now than what I was in February. Like, I don't see myself doing this. I don't want to do it. So
Yeah.
they're going to have, if this ends up happening, which I don't see happening right at the moment, like, it's this time period where we all have to like take the time, go inward,
Yeah.
which a lot of us don't do because it scares us.
Mm-hmm.
But when you spend that time, then you really find out what you're meant to do and what you should be doing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Very well said. And you're right. It's a really scary thing because a lot of people have this sense of stability in their lives as far as work goes and stuff like that, and which I've never really had, not recently. So I'm kind of used to this up and down thing. But it's a scary thing. It's definitely no laughing matter. It's nothing to take lightly. But it is 100% true that growth comes from these times. And like I already said, you got to choose it. And whatever that looks like for you, it could even be like, physical fitness or, reading more, taking the time just to grow. I've talked to a lot of people in the events industry um, who are enjoying the time. I mean, if you can, like who have nothing to go back to right now and are just like, it's out of your control. So I'm just going to take the time to do what I can to better myself, hang with the family. It's about perspective. When it's a tough one to talk about because it's not as easy as that. You can say it until you're blue in the face. But for some people, it freezes them when they're in moments like this. They don't know what to do. And I think you just start there. Like if you don't know where to go or again, try to, I don't know. I find it very difficult. Because I'm in sort of a unique position where I'm already, like I said, used to this ebb and flow of how things work as far as my work goes. But yeah, I think you just have to take it a day at a time.
Life is a roller coaster. And
Yeah.
I can relate, like previously it was either 0 to 100. You're either like at a standstill, waiting for a call, seeing where life was going to take you, or you're
Yep.
taking a trip for fun on your own, or I was creating. And then, or it was like, here you go, you leave in 2 days, you leave in 24 hours, here's a plane ticket, see you at the office. And then you just packed up the suitcase and then you were gone.
Well, yeah, for you, that's the thing. I had 1 or 2 jobs that were canceled at the beginning. You had 7 months worth of work.
So, I mean, you're at this place of like, yes, for those of you who've gone out of work and, I have tons of friends in the industry who are like grasping at straws, like, what am I going to do?
Yep.
But I will say that a lot of us on the freelance side of it, and
Yep.
friends of mine, were very creative people. So whether we were doing photography, whether we were doing inspirational stuff, whether videos, acting, like what attracted a lot of us to this event industry was the ability to sort of balance or have
Yeah.
this faux balance because there
Yes.
was no balance to it or
Yeah.
rhyme or reason.
Yeah.
And what ended up happening was that we ended up putting more of our time and energy into the event world and helping out in the event world than what we did spending time on personal projects and getting our own stuff off the ground and running.
Yes.
But I started to notice, like, as things shifted and as everything was getting canceled across the board, like for the whole industry, yes, we all lost sources of income and we didn't know what was happening or so forth. It gave all of us who are super creative that time to go inward and say, it's here. Like, we have the opportunity now. We've got all the time on our hands.
Yep.
Like, there is nothing stopping us. Like, I had friends on who, like, are creating a movie during a pandemic. Like,
Yeah.
some of these things, there were so many, someone else reinvented themselves and got into like marketing videos and
Yep.
video content and things that, that were sort of hindering us in the past is now it's like, here's the flat road. Like,
Yes.
you can only go up from here.
Yeah. And that's again a great point, because we spend so much of our time, especially people who are in regular jobs, like, and again, that's what you got to do. So you're working all week and then you come home and you're tired, and what else are you going to do? And then you go to sleep and repeat, right? So yes, now what better time than during a pandemic than to try to find what you want to do and make a go of it, right? And here we have in Canada, we have some pretty decent funding too. So the government's offered all kinds of packages for people in unique situations, right? So I mean, it's not tax free, of course, but it's there.
Right.
It's there, and it allowed people to breathe a little bit easier and maybe take that time to find what they want to do, or at the very least, as close to that as they can get, right? So I think that's it. It is again perspective, and it's like, if you want to look at this like it's the worst time ever, then that's what it's going to be for you. But if you want to look at it as an endless view of opportunities, which is how I choose to look at it, and it's worked out okay so far. Man, like, that's how it has to be. That's how it has to be.
The sky is the limit if you choose to see it.
It is. And again, sounds cliche, and it all sounds cliche because it's been said over and over. But until you live it, until you know it, and until it's part of who you are, then you don't really understand. You don't really get it. That's why I preach it so much, because if you can get just a couple people to kind of like jump on board to something that they've always wanted to do, and if they can just feel it, like just for a second, how that feels, you become someone new. You really, really do, and you have an entirely different view of the world when you love what you do. I wasn't going to bring this up because I might get teary, but my grandpa, my papa, passed away a couple of days ago, and his mantra was always, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And for someone who was 88 and lived, through times where you just get a job and you do it and you work it, it doesn't matter if you like it or not. He was way ahead of his time, like, as far as that, and he was what would now be called a graphic designer, but he didn't work with lithograph, and he loved it. He was there his entire life, working career doing that. So that's why I try to get that message out to kids, especially, is they don't even know it, and I didn't know it until I was older. But that message resonates through your entire life. So when you speak those words to kids, and even adults, it can make a massive impact on someone's life. And I think that's it's underrated, and we need to spend more time on positive messaging and way less on crap that's out there, for sure.
Your grandfather sounds like an amazing person, and I know he's instilled not only the creativity into you, but sharing this knowledge that you and I both know And if one person listens to this today, we have both done our jobs.
Exactly.
Like,
Yep.
that's essentially what it is. Like, if you can choose to do what you love, sure, it sounds cliche, you'll never work a day in your life, but you're going to work so much harder and so much more to get your idea off the ground and running.
Yeah. And I work,
Incredible.
and we work hard, but it doesn't it doesn't feel the same. And it's a whole other can of worms as far as the business end of being a creative goes, which I've had to learn the hard way throughout the years. So you still work, and there's still stuff that really sucks that I don't want to do. But the positive far outweighs the negative, and you just got to take care of business while you're being creative. That's it.
As we begin to wrap up, what's been one of your favorite pieces that you've created over all time?
Man, that's a good question. Probably one that stands out. I did H&M, so their head office is in Toronto, and I did their office space, and that was my first big mural job after it was like a really neat chain of events. So I put up something personally I had done, I think just from my studio, my previous studio, for the mural. And then I put an ad on Instagram for that, and the lead creative for H&M saw the ad and then hired me to do that. So I went from doing it in my studio for myself for no money to doing it for H&M's head office. And then from there, like we talked about previous, snowballs, right? Yeah, that's probably my favorite so far. That was a great job. And most of the time when I walk into a job like that, they say, just do your thing. Like, we've seen it, just go for it. It's like, that's like a dream. Like, that's a dream right there. Just to walk in.
Give you like, here's an idea, but go create. And that's when you know that you've, like, I don't want to say made it, but your art is being taken to a new level, and they appreciate the art for what you bring to the table.
Exactly. Yeah. And they'll provide some creative direction as far as wording and stuff goes, but as far as stylistically, it's all, you go ahead and do it, and I'm sure we'll like it.
That's amazing.
Yep.
And then the final question I have for today, and I ask it on every episode, what's been one of the biggest blessings of recently for you?
I would say, because the time we're in now, family, and I'm gonna get teary. And with the passing of my grandpa, probably just realizing how time's limited, and we need to really focus on what we want to do, and make the most of every moment we've got, for sure.
And without a doubt, family is so key, and having those lessons instilled in us from your grandfather. Mm-hmm. I know how important grandparents are, especially myself, and like, their legacy continues on with us. So now that you know this, you can preach it to the world now, and all of your art and to your kids, and those memories live on forever.
Thanks so much. Yeah.
Jason, you want to share with us more of your social media handles, website, any and all information?
So Instagram is Art of Wilkins, Wilkins. It's wilkinsartandcreative.com.
Well, Jason, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Yeah, I absolutely love this. Like, we were diving into so many things that nobody ever expected to hear today. Chatting with an artist. But that is the beauty of this show. So thank you so much for being on.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
To everybody who is watching this today, I encourage you to spend 5 minutes of being still, being silent, turn off your phone, set a timer on your phone of 5-10 minutes, and just go inward and like focus on being still and what comes to mind to make you take that step to doing what you love and what you know that you should do.
Mhm.
So
Perfect.
enjoy today. This has been a wrap on today's episode of Coffee with Bobbi and Jason Wilkins. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks. Have a good one.